Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, how are you? Bit of a more subtle start because I got a bad throat. I can't talk properly. I can talk properly, but I got a bit of a husk to the throat at the moment. So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you are safe and well. It is Sunday night, and it is time for another live stream that actually never nearly happened because I was running out of time. I've been trying to finish off some content in the background, and I didn't realise the time until Mr. Wes, the amazing Wes from the ExpressRS dev team, was like, "You going live tonight or what?" And I was like, that's a very good point. And then I had to start thinking about what am I going to actually talk about, because I don't actually think about these things that far in advance. And it has been somewhat of a quiet week, but there are actually subjects I did want to touch on. And one of them is going to be what is actually going on with Fatshark. And before anyone asks, I don't bloody know, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And that is the fact that the Dominator goggles are on high discount. I did bring that up yesterday. And we'll just talk a little bit around what could be next, because we genuinely don't know. And it's an interesting subject because there are allegations out there that buying these goggles are not a good idea, and I think that's complete and utter nonsense. We're also going to talk about the HDZero sale because it didn't go in the video, so I will talk about that at the start of this video, because HDZero basically posted that at the same time as I actually made my video on the Black Friday deals. I want to talk about the SkyZone 04X Pro again, because there has been a bit of confusion over these goggles, and it might not be quite as bad as I originally thought. And whilst they don't offer certain things like 1080p 100, there isn't actually anything that can give you 1080p 100 today as far as we're aware. And we're going to look at where they actually sit again from a value proposition, because I may have judged them a bit quick. I also want to mention about either the GoPro Max or the Insta360 X3. And the reason I'm asking is I want to buy a 360 camera and I don't know which one to get. And I have been talking about this on my Discord today, and my Discord guys have been very kindly pushing me towards Insta360, but I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. I've been looking through the Insta360s. I was actually looking at the One RS first of all. I thought that's a nice camera until I realized it's over £700 in the UK. So we backed out of that one very, very quickly. But I think I'm sort of leaning on an X3 from Insta360. And we'll touch on the FPV sales and a few other subjects as well, which I will talk about in this video. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is say a big hello to everyone and thank you all for joining me tonight. I know it takes a bit of time for everyone to roll in. It was great. I'm going to just hop to the desktop, and that's the wrong desktop. That's good, isn't it? Look at that. That's the right desktop. I want to say it was great tonight. Mr. Bardwell is back, everyone. For those who hadn't seen, JB has returned to the world of FPV. I haven't watched the whole stream. I did catch up on some of it. Something I thought was really interesting, actually, was just shows how out of it JB has been. He hadn't actually even opened the avatar goggles until this stream, so it tells you he's been completely out of it. But obviously, we will all look forward to JB's video on those goggles, because as always, opinions, you should always get as many opinions as you can on a product, and no one review is ever right. And look, my review would always have been very technically centric. JB's review will be more overall and a far more middle ground than I would put out in a video, in the sense of I tend to be more the technical end, and JB will give you a lot more opinion on the product and the system. And look, at the end of the day, the more opinions are better. And look, I'm interested to see if I've missed something, because the one thing about reviews is that usually we all pick up something from everyone else, in the sense of pick up something someone else didn't. And I'm just intrigued of what I might have missed, because I watched a few of the other reviews and I don't think there was anything I glossed over or missed. But there is one thing I didn't highlight in the video, which I'm intrigued to see if was picked up by others, and that is the boot time. It's something I noticed on the Avatar Goggles X, but I didn't comment on because it's early days and I was told it was going to be optimized. Now, you could argue I was also told that they were going to fix the analog digital transmission issue. Yeah, I still published it, but that is a very issue to them being a little bit slow to power on. And when I say a little bit slow, it is just a little bit slow. Failsafe is here in the chat, who has a set in hand, and his words are, they're not that bad. I think the bigger issue is they're completely black for about 10 seconds. They need a boot logo and a few things like that. And I believe that all should be sorted by the time the firmware comes out. But about the only thing I hadn't mentioned is the slow boot time. And so I have seen someone else mention it. I'm not sure I warrant it. And I also want to highlight in a minute a video that was put out today about Walksnail, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. But I just want to say it's great to see Mr. Bardwell back. We all appreciate the man himself. There is only one Mr. JB, and it's good to see him back. You're not allowed to watch his live stream right now, right? But he is back if you want to see it. Right, the first thing I want to get out the way is this HDZero thing, because in my initial video, I've put a post up, and I'm not really going to talk about that any more than I have because I'm getting fed up with the situation. But it's really simple. Pretty much within 2 hours of each other, HDZero had posted a discount deal on their goggles as well, which now means HDZeros are available on offer. The original Caddx, Dominator HD goggles are on offer, as are DJI. Every digital FPV goggle on the market is on offer. There are also deals to be had on the Goggles X, and whilst they're not discounting the Goggles X, there are some bundle deals from Caddx available as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about is HDZero. We'll put it up on the screen, and you can see here that they have dropped the price to $495, which is good to see. Freestyle Kit version 2, $100, down from $150. I'm a little shocked they've done that. Race version 3 VTX, $50, save $20. And the Nano 90 cam, save $15. Now, what is actually quite interesting is when I looked about HDZero discounts, I actually didn't expect to see them because we've all heard about the lack of margin in HDZero products. We've talked about this before. Dealers have complained about the lack of margin. I'm shocked there is such a large amount of money off the goggles and the Vision 2 VTX right now. I am quite astonished at that. But look, it is what it is. It is what it is. Get it? It is available from the 23rd of November, so it isn't actually available today, and it is first come, first serve, and it is great to see. So HDZero will have offers on as well. Now, alongside this, there are discounts on the DJI goggles and a couple of others, but one of the ones I did also want to mention that I never mentioned was on Caddx. And this was highlighted to me by Junus, I think it was, on bundles for the Goggles X. Now, you're buying something that people haven't actually got their hands on yet, except people like me, but they do have some discounts on their 1S drones. And if you click on the 1S drone site, they've dropped the price of the Avatar System X with the Beta FPV Meteor 75s and these quads here. And what you're getting is about a $40 discount when you add it all up. But it isn't a bad deal when you think about it. Interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. So there is a discount that can be had on these Caddx goggles. It's just not directly on the goggles themselves. Now, whilst I'm on Caddx, I also want to quickly talk about the goggles and one thing, and I have a video coming on that this week anyway, Walksnail Avatar, and I just want to talk about the goggles quickly when I find them. Right, great. So where are the new goggles? That's good. Let's go to the homepage then and go there. Okay, so the goggles. Now, one thing I want to talk about on this, and I do have a video coming on this week, is about the antenna and the patch antenna. I don't have one. Before anyone asks, I've not been sent it. I'm going to move myself over there. I'm not aware if anyone has been sent the patch antenna. Have you seen anybody else other than me with it? Because I don't have it. Okay? So Caddx have not sent me that patch antenna. But what is interesting when you look at this is, and I'm just trying to find the picture. Let me get it here. Where is it? Here it is. The picture of this patch antenna, which is clearly a render. Okay. However, if we open it up into a new tab, the antenna ports come out of the bottom on this. Now, for those who remember my review on these new goggles, let's just get it right. There we go. We'll go with that picture. Oh, it's moving around. I don't want it to move around. Stay still. Thank you. You will remember that I stated the antenna that actually transmits is... Oh, I'm confused now because I'm back to front. That one there. So it's going to be from here, that one there. Okay? I think I'm going to have to do this in real time. Wait a minute. I'm going to have to go from the back now. Right. That one there. Whichever one that one is, I'm getting myself confused. That one there is the one that transmits. That one there receives. So that one transmits, that receives, and that receives. Okay? However, when they go to the image, do they do an image with it fitted? No, they don't. As far as I can tell. However, that image implies that it's going to be going to the receive ports only. Now, that is not going to be optimum for full range. Yesterday, I finished recording a video, which I will share, and I have shared this with my Discord users already. Unfortunately, there is not enough cable length on the avatar goggles internally to swap around the antenna. Scroll down page for antennas fitted. Oh, scroll down. Okay, let's go down. Ah, there we go. Sorry, they got it there. So, the bottom ports. There is not enough antenna length to swap the top port to the bottom port on my goggles. Now, I am going to assume this is the same for all of them, but I have a video coming on it which will go out midweek. And again, there is not enough length to be able to do it. Now, let me just bring up this, and I'll actually find the bit of footage for you where we tried it. Let me just... Let me just find the piece. Probably this. Let me just mute it because we don't want to hear the sound. Back to the desktop. So that there. So if we go back to here a minute. Actually, if we go probably back to, yeah, about there. That cable is the one that goes to the first port, which is the bottom left side of the goggles. There is not enough length to get that cable to the transmitting port, which is this one here. This port is that cable there, but it just will not go. I wonder if anyone has done any testing on how imperative it is to have the solid uplink goggles to the VTX having better antenna gain on 2. Yeah, it'll be interesting to know, Wes. It's something that's going to need some long-range testing. We used to have a guy who did it, but he became a big Jesse and pulled out. And he spends all of his time now oiling his beard, apparently. That's what I've heard. But unfortunately, yeah, we've got no one we can rely on anymore to do it. But hopefully someone will come back and sort it out. There is rumours that the man who used to do this was last seen sitting in a corner with a tub of beard oil like Winnie the Pooh, dipping his hand in. There are moves to try and bring this man out of retirement. However, the whispers are that we have to get a white helmet and suit, and he has to be called the Stig from now on. Some say. But yes, so unfortunately, there isn't enough length on those cables to swap the top to the bottom port. So the question is there enough cable on the goggle to, the antenna to move the bottom to the top? Or the third option, and let me just find that part in the video. The third option will be you could, right, put in your own pigtail cable and bring it out behind the antenna. It won't be a big job, to be honest. You could put your own pigtail onto that port and bring it behind. And actually, you could probably do a much tidier installation than Caddx have done and put your own pigtails on. I'm waiting to see what else comes from someone else. And here's what this goggle is asking for. This is asking for True RC to make a set of antennas with UFLs that go straight to the board for a much tidier installation. That's what this is asking for. But that video will go live in the week, but on my goggles, the cable just won't go. Not enough length. A common problem that I have. So that's the situation on that. Now, that is the FPV sales. I did also mention today that if you're interested in getting a set of DJI Integra goggles in the UK, you can get them cheaper on Amazon than you can on DJI's website. Worth a look too. There does look to be some pretty good FPV sales on at the moment, and we'll talk about them a bit more later on in the video. I'll do a bit more shilling, as I said in that video yesterday. Now, the next thing I want to talk about may end up burning a bridge with a vendor I work with. However, it is something that was highlighted to me. And as I have always said on this channel, I am always going to bring up the things that maybe other people don't, or at least things that are highlighted to me as well as others. Now, what I'm going to talk about here very quickly, and I don't want to spend too long on this, is this. And this is RadioMaster. Now, this was shared with me by a user yesterday. RadioMaster have put a statement on their website, which is in Chinese. Now, we don't have a full translation of this statement. However, we do have a Google translation of this statement, and it says as follows. Wuxi Rukisha Technology Co. Limited. Now, just so you know who that is FrSky. I have confirmed that myself independently. Without permission, in the process of producing and selling RadioMaster brand receivers, our company used all of your receiver driver software as the driver for RadioMaster brand receivers and modified all of your receiver driver software. The program name is provided in public download on our official website, radiomaster.com, which infringes upon your company's intellectual property rights in the field of receivers. Our company sincerely apologizes for the confusion this has caused some consumers about your company's products and the impact on your company's reputation. Our company guarantees that we will never use any software from your company, including receiver driver software, nor sell infringing products. If there is any violation, we will publicly apologize, accept punishment, and compensate your company for losses. Shenzhen Brother Remote Control Technology Co. Limited. Now, my understanding of this situation is very simple. This, as I have read, is in relation to RadioMaster receivers, I suspect, for D8 and D16 FrSky. What this appears to be, and it needs to be crystal clear here, that this would not have been RadioMaster alone, but basically all of the maybe multi-protocol receivers, the ones using the ability to use FrSky protocol, S-Bus, all of this other stuff by other companies. At the end of the day, that was hacked, modified, borrowed, whatever we want to call it, software. What this would imply is RadioMaster was using FrSky software on their FrSky compatible receivers. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds on this. I don't think it should be surprising to anyone that this was probably the case. At the end of the day, if you were buying third-party receivers that companies never officially sanctioned, it's dodgy territory. Okay, if this was a hacking group doing this, we would all be standing up saying, hey, brilliant, just like we have with FPV WTF. I think where this gets murky is when companies are selling products like this. I personally have no issues with RadioMaster as a brand. This doesn't really change my opinion of RadioMaster as a brand. They have been an outstanding company that I've worked with on this channel. I don't know the ins and outs of why they've now publicized this statement, but they have. And the facts of the matter is that they've apologized to FrSky for using their software. It's down to each person to decide if they think RadioMaster was the bad guy, FrSky was the bad guy for locking down their receivers in the first place. This is a very complex and political subject. What it appears is FrSky have been able to get an apology for what was done. And what should be celebrated is RadioMaster have publicly announced that apology. Should they have done it in the first place remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, anyone who bought those receivers benefited from a cheap alternative to what FrSky had. I find it hard for me to personally feel sorry for FrSky based on the way they have behaved towards users. However, has the way they've behaved towards users been caused as a result of companies doing this? And to be fair, you have to take that into account. It's a tough situation. This was highlighted to me. I am only doing what I would do with any other brand, and I would continue to work with RadioMaster as I have in the past. In the end, it's a minefield, as Type has just said, and that really is it from me on that situation. But what I didn't want to do is gloss over this, as I have been accused of in the past with brands that I like, and RadioMaster is a very big supporter of this channel. Yet, if they've done something wrong, they should apologize, which they have done. What I will say is, and this is I know as fact, and I don't know who from the, I don't know if Wes is still here. I know in recent times, RadioMaster have been an outstanding supporter of the Express LRS project. They are making some of the best Express LRS products out there. It really falls into mod chip territory, this. For me, it falls into, you know, look, it's like we know there's stuff out there that's hacked that you buy and it's cheaper. It just gets murky when companies are making money off it. But we as users were the ones buying the receivers, and we were more than happy to support it. So it's all very murky. None of us liked the stranglehold of what FrSky had and the way they behave towards users. And that's why, for me, I find it really hard to really be upset. Some of it is karma, and that's just how I feel. So, that's that. And that is an interesting question Richard Johnson has just posted. Will other companies, and I'm not going to name anyone, also apologize? That I don't know. I can't comment. Look, everyone selling a 4-in-1 that's FrSky compatible is basically selling hacked. You're using a system that is somehow hacked. I think the bit that's hypocritical is it was their software on their hardware, and that's the bit it's hard to argue about. So, here's a question, and I've seen this. There used to be, and we haven't seen this for some time, third-party batteries available for DJI drones, okay? These third-party batteries all ran DJI software. The battery was a clone of the official battery. And in fact, it was a clone of one battery because every one of them had the same serial number. And this was a mistake this company made because DJI was actually able to block it simply by updating the firmware and blocking that serial number. So there were, for a very long time, lots of people buying cheap alternatives to DJI batteries that were running DJI software. It wasn't hacked. They basically replicated the hardware because it was all off the shelf and installed DJI software on the battery that they copied off the ASIC that was on the original one that they used as a reference and installed it on all of the third-party batteries. Those batteries were somewhere between $30 and $40 a piece cheaper than the original DJIs. So lots of users were more than happy to buy them. That is the same situation as this appears to be. So what you have to ask yourself is that morally right? Is it right as a company? Where do we stand? And these things happen when there are strangleholds on systems, where there are companies that won't open up what they do. Are FrSky to blame? No. I think it's really hard to blame FrSky. But do I also think that users absolutely benefited from the 4-in-1 module and the multi-module? And let's not pretend that FrSky didn't benefit as well. Because if you were buying a receiver that was FrSky compatible, it was probably to work with their radio. There is no logic in buying a third-party radio that works with FrSky protocol and using a third-party receiver with FrSky protocol. You may as well use something else. Now, a lot of this is historic. A lot of this is from the past. It is down to each person to decide how they feel. And look, genuinely, if this is something you feel is a problem, then you might not want to buy RadioMaster products in the future. But let me be crystal clear on you. That means you don't want to buy probably Jumper, RadioMaster, and anyone else who has been selling compatible receivers. This is all old stuff from the past, as well as someone did just put out. But anyway, look, it was highlighted to me and I said I was going to highlight it, and we will leave that one there. Now, before I move forward, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. And I'm going to eat a chocolate roll. Mini roll, anyone? Any questions? 85% of people use Express ELRS and TBS. Yeah. Will Caddx release a 1S VTX with 32 gig gyroflow? I have no idea. They haven't told me anything. That's a point. I'm waiting on a 4K VTX to turn up, but nothing's arrived. Hello, MC. FrSky is bigger in fixed wing. Yeah, there is no question about it. Have I made the RC Benchy yet? No, I haven't had time to dig into it. I'm well behind on content that I'm trying to get caught up on due to holiday and illness. If there's any questions, put them below. And then, if not, we'll move on. Why does my muffler's dirty? You don't want a dirty muff. Sorry about that. I've just remembered that's going to make a lot of noise on your side. Forgot about that. 4K Walksnail camera. Yes, apparently they're meant to be sending it to me. I've received nothing. They're the ones who talked about it, and they're the ones that told me they were going to send it, but I don't know. I can't tell you yet. I've been told it'll work with all VTXs, but I don't know any more than that. But this is Caddx after all, so give it another 6 months. Okay. We'll move on. The next question. I want to talk quickly again about these because I spoke about them last week, and that is the new SkyZone 04X Pro. Now, when I first saw these, I was a little bit, Jesus, look at the price of them. And actually, today, they don't look a great deal with the sales that are on. However, there is a bit more to talk about here. So, we'll head back on the FPV goggles page. I am once again going to call out SkyZone for their frankly BS marketing behavior where they're showing it $100 off already. Okay? That is nonsense. Releasing a product and showing it's $100 off before you start is just not... Do you think you're DFS or something? Come on. You might have intended to sell it at $599, but that doesn't matter. Has anyone actually paid you $599 for that goggle? Because if they haven't, take it down and stop being idiots. Complete and utter nonsense. So, they've got the new 04X Pros, which look really interesting. We talked about the spec last week. 1920 by 1080 OLEDs, 52-degree field of view. I really hope they haven't blown it. I really hope they haven't overdone it. I want to see them, but I just hope they haven't pushed it too far. They support DVR H.264 60 frames a second, and they support HDMI in 720p 100 frames a second. Now, this means they will work with the HDZero. They will work with the Avatar HD module, but they're not going to work with the Avatar HD in 1080p 100. But there is no 1080p 100 option available today on the Avatar HD VRX module anyway. There's an assumption we'll have it in the future. There's no guarantee. So today, this goggle is going to be digital compatible and be analog, and it comes with a steady view receiver. Now, for those who did see my review of the Avatar HD goggles, where I did do the analog tests on my SkyZone 04Xs, you may have noticed that the analog latency was really good on them. It was like as good as HDZero. So, for analog pilots, these are going to be one of the best options alongside HDZero. So the question really then is, are you better buying these and a HDZero VRX module, or the HDZeros and a analog module? And I think it really comes down to how much you're flying analog. I think if you're flying analog a lot, these might be a better option and have it then with a HDZero or Avatar HD VRX module, because you're going to get the lowest possible analog latency and you're going to have decent latency on HDMI. Now, did I actually run the HDMI latency tests on the 04Xs? I can't remember. Did I run the HDMI input latency test on those goggles? Let me just check what my chart says. I've actually forgot. And the reason I think, I actually have a video coming on this tomorrow. So this was the analog latency testing, okay? So HDMI latency test. No, I didn't. I didn't test the HDMI latency on the SkyZones. I would say Avatar and Analog VRX or SkyZone and Avatar VRX. HDZero VRX is way behind HDZero goggles. It is, yeah. So, from an analog point of view, so from a HDMI point of view, I don't have the data. I need to check. However, from an analog point of view, there was no question that the SkyZones were very, very good. So, but the HDZeros don't quite have as good HDMI input latency. So, the question is, are the O4Xs as good on HDMI? Because if they are as good on HDMI, and I need to check this, then they could be a very interesting option for an Avatar goggle with analog. They actually would make more sense than the Goggles X, in fact. And it's worth noting here that if you are to set a SkyZone 04X Pros with the Avatar VRX module, you're going to have analog DVR, you're going to have digital DVR, you're going to have low latency on analog, and you should have low latency on digital HDMI as well. There actually is a very real argument that for Avatar users, the SkyZone might be, if you're a heavy analog user, the SkyZone might be a better option. And it's definitely going to be a better option than the Goggles X if you want to run a lot of analog. That is an interesting use case. Now, I need to test the HDMI input latency on my O4Xs because I haven't done it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the same for these. Really, I would need to see these. Omar says, my O4X isn't great for latency on HDMI in. It's like using analog. But what are you using for the latency? SkyZone will do 100 frames a second over HDMI. Yes. Not, but in 720p. I'm just thinking, there is a very real use case here. Interesting. Okay. This would need testing. I don't really want to order a set of £500 analog goggles, but I might have to. O4Xs are the perfect balance with two modules. Yes, potentially. Look, if you want the lowest digital latency, it's the HDZero goggles. It's without doubt. Look, and they offer the as good as SkyZones. I'll reach out to SkyZone and ask if I can borrow a set. I genuinely would just like to try a set and test these, because I do think if you're a heavy analog user and you want the option to go Avatar, these could be well worth a look. But I would need to test. I can test mine. Mine I can test. I've got O4Xs already, so I can test my O4Xs. 100% perfect sync. Yes, there will be obviously the sync issues, but you would get them on any goggle. That AVI in it, you would get that on all of them. That's across the board. But frame synchronization issues shouldn't be as bad on Avatar HD, largely because It's not like HDZero. HDZero really feels it because of the fixed latency. The problem, a variable latency system should feel not as bad on HDMI desync because the latency is all over the place anyway. Johnny5 just said, also can't do the 90 frames a second for HDZero. Yeah, that's right. If you want HDZero, you're going to want the HDZero goggles. Yes, because the VRX module for HDZero doesn't do 90 frames a second. There is no VRX for HDZero that does the 90. I would, based... So Johnny5 has asked for sales numbers of Avatar HD. I would say Avatar, based on opinion, and this is not based on any facts today, I would estimate, and this is finger in the air based on a few things I know, I would say it's outsold HDZero probably by about times 5 to 10. As for where it gets towards HDJI, look, I have said this many times before, okay? DJI sales numbers are in another league. They're not even remotely the same as anyone else, okay? DJI will sell as many digital FPV systems as probably more FPV systems than everyone else added together, then times 10. You can't... DJI is in a different league just because of the type of company they are. And that's like comparing Apple iPhone sales to, I don't know, a company that starts making a freaking phone today. Do you know what I mean? It's just in a completely different league. However, based on what I have seen from the interest, based on what I've been told by a few retailers, I believe Caddx have done very, very well with Avatar HD. I believe it has done very, very well. I'm not saying it's enough to make a profit. I have, and I can't publish these. Remember, I have from Carl direct, and I will never, you know, Carl I think is amazing. I love Carl as a person. He is undoubtedly amazing. You guys saw the interview I did with Carl on this channel and HDZero, and there are people who love to say I'm anti HDZero. It's bullshit. I love Carl. I like HDZero, but I also find it hard at times to talk about HDZero because it doesn't help itself. And here is a classic example of that. Here is a classic of how it's hard at times to promote HDZero. This new deal that was put out, as I stated on my community page today. Carl put the post up on Facebook. There was no emails to KOLs. There was no emails to existing store users. The website does not show an upcoming deal. If we go to HDZero right now, okay? If we go to the website, there's nothing. There's nothing to say Black Friday deal coming soon. Go on the website and search for the goggles, $599. There is nothing to say Thanksgiving deal coming soon. Sorry, I'm not showing you. Sorry, let me do that again. HDZero's website, nothing. Shop, nothing. No comments of deals coming soon, Black Friday. There has been nothing. So the one thing that lets HDZero down at times is the way it communicates with not only the community, but people like me as well. I love Carl. He's amazing. He is brilliant. Genuinely one of the cleverest, amazing people I know. And there's stuff we talked about in that video that was never published that that just blew my mind. The guy is incredible. But he doesn't also make it easy. But I was told the sales numbers for the original modules, the Fatsharks, and the HDZeros back then. And it was much smaller than I realized. And I was quite surprised. And that was directly from... And I don't mean they're not selling a lot. It's just... It's it's a slow building thing. As for how popular Caddx is, from what I have seen, it has gained traction. But I don't know numbers. I could be wrong. There's no benefit in me saying one brand has sold more than another. I can tell you DJI has sold more than anyone else, period. Then I think Avatar has overtaken HDZero. I firmly believe Avatar has overtaken HDZero. And then you've got everything else. Now, as for people saying they don't see people flying it, you're flying in groups of people you're used to seeing. I think people would be surprised how much you sold. It might not be much more, but my belief is it probably has, based on the and that's based on like the interest I see in my videos, based on the questions I see. Look, I will get 10 times the user support questions on Avatar than I will HDZero. I think the goggles have probably been very good for Carl. Yeah, the goggles were a different league. Definitely. But if I talk about... Now you could argue, is that because HDZero is easier? HDZero is not easier. But look, as someone who's been around a long time and sees trends of stuff, I can honestly say the interest and the questions and the... what gives me an opinion of how people are interacting with a brand, this is what I see. Okay, so here's an insight from me. I see loads of DJI. DJI's everywhere. Categoric. I see close to no HDZero outside of a very small niche group. HDZero's users either tend to be in the HDZero group on Facebook or Discord. I see very little general sprinkling of HDZero questions and things like that going out there. And that's just an observation. I wish it was different. I could be wrong. But that's just what I see. And that gives me an opinion. And that's where I base my opinions, based on support questions. What I see on places like RC groups. Yes, I still read a lot on RC groups. I keep an eye on a lot of places where there's people around. Discord, Facebook, all of these things. They all come into a pile. Whereas I've seen Caddx sprinkle wider. Now, let's not get away from the fact Caddx have absolutely played the game. Caddx have put the system in the hands of as many people as they can. Okay? Ignore me's. I'm not important in that respect. Right? There's only, 20 of us? 15 of us? 10? Is there 10? Look, I don't like using this term, but KOLs, right? Okay. BJB, Rossa, look, there's 20, 30, look, just in the big brands, the people who are known, there's 20 or 30 of me. What I'm talking about is Caddx putting it in the hands of people like sponsored pilots and people around there. Now, some of that is frankly questionable, because how much of that has been declared? I've always tried to be, and I always will be, open and honest. If I get it for free, I get it for free. If I don't, I don't. I tell you. I have seen some murky stuff, but I've seen murky stuff by everyone. Not HDZero. No murky stuff from HDZero. I shouldn't say everyone. I've seen real murky stuff from DJI. I've seen murky stuff from Caddx. You know, look, I have a KOL agreement still here for DJI that gave an additional $1,000 for positive engagement on content. And that was the one I refused to sign. So people say, I'm not part of DJI's affiliate scheme anymore. No, I'm not. Because I refused to sign an agreement that based income on video performance engagement, and then you swing engagement to go in positive engagement, and that then becomes you only said good things. And I know the 1,000 is tiny compared to what I know some have. Caddx used something quite funny, and I'm going to move on from this subject in a minute. And I think it was Junus who spotted this. I don't know if you're here, Junus. Caddx never promoted, as far as I'm aware, my review of the Goggles X, where I was critical about certain things. But they promoted my video that I put out after they fixed the digital problem. So it seems they chose to promote the video that suited them. And when I say promoted, they just put it on their social media pages. I found that highly amusing. Highly amusing. So they chose to promote the one where I said, hey, they fixed the bad thing. But they didn't promote the video where I said, hey, there's a bad thing. That's funny. That's funny. So they didn't publish the video with 30k views. They just published the one with the, hey, we fixed something we shouldn't have broke in the first place. Just the funny thing was, here's the truth on that. I knew, genuinely, I knew before even testing for that problem it was going to be there. That's the bit that made me chuckle on that release. So the goggles came in, right? And this is a story for you. I had very little info from Caddx. The products were coming, then they were delayed, then they were delayed, then they were delayed, and then they finally arrived. And they arrived, and I had very little time for the final product review. And I'm sitting here thinking, right, all of the testing I did in that video, I'd laid out on a sheet of paper. I don't script content on this channel. None of that video is scripted. That is all my head going, I need to test this, we need to check that, we need to check that. And then I sat there and went, analog, right, we need to make sure they turned off the digital. I bet you they haven't. And I started laughing to myself. I knew before I even turned them on, they hadn't fixed that. They'd missed that. I just knew it was happening. I just knew they would. I don't know why. I was like, I can guarantee they've not turned digital off. And lo and behold, they hadn't turned digital off. So it's hard being right sometimes, but it was funny. It was funny to me. So I just knew they'd messed that up. I just knew it. When you know companies as well as you do over time, you just know what they're going to do. It's just highly amusing to yourself at times when you think about it and you go, I bet you they've done that. And they did. Good old Caddx. They keep... they jump into a bear trap every single time. But they make a good product. Overall. So. Okay. Right, before we move on, and I've lost track of what I was going to say. I was talking about HDZero, wasn't I? We were talking about SkyZone, and then we ended up on HDZero. That went sideways. We jumped the shark then, ladies and gentlemen. Right, give the video a like. Let's get back on the let's get back on track. Anyway, HDZero goggles apparently on sale in a week's time, but you wouldn't know if you didn't go to Facebook. That's the very basics. Okay. Before I move on to the next subject, which is the Fatsharks, that was the SkyZones. There we go. I'm going to see if I can borrow a set and do some testing. DKFPV said DJI Goggles 2 versus Walksnail Goggles X. Very different products. You can't compare those two. You can't compare them. You can compare the Avatar Goggles X to HDZero. You can somewhat compare them to the V2s, but you can't compare them to the Goggle. The Goggle 2 is a one-trick pony. So the Goggle 2 is very good for O3. That's it. You can't compare them to the you can compare systems, but it's very hard to compare those goggles. From a fitment point of view, the Avatar goggles are better, but I have some real concerns over the anti-fog, which is going to take months to find out. And I actually still think there could be a bit of a lot more noise to come on that. I warned in the video, I'm concerned about the anti-fog, but it's not the time of year for me to test. So I can't fully think, but I have some real concerns. And the optics are not great for me, but it doesn't stop me breathing and kill me. So, a solid Fonz reference. Yeah, you've always got to, we jumped the shark there. Now, before we move on, I am going to share with you guys this. Now, Patreons of this channel have seen this video already. Let me just find this. I'm going to share with you. Tomorrow is a video that's, again, going to upset some people. Shock horror. Everything I do tends to upset some people. Someone will find some reason that I've upset them because I've said something about their favourite brand that they don't like. And rather than actually take it on the chin, they then want to try and argue it and behave like a shill. However, this video is coming tomorrow. This is the combination of my, quite now, some months testing on the latency and the behavioral difference of these three systems. Now, in this video, we're going to be looking at the bench latency. Remember, best case scenario. Now, if you want an answer up front, HDZero wins, right? That's not even open for debate. But what is incredibly interesting in this video is the information around DJI. Okay? The information around Walksnail, I've already shared in the Walksnail video. You got a sneak peek of that already, okay? What is the real interesting stuff here is the DJI stuff. And that is because of not only the difference between running O3 on the V2s versus the goggles 2s, but the real difference in behavior between O3 in its different modes. And what I will tell you now, and I don't want to share the chart yet because I have shared some of it in the past. The worst possible latency FPV system is without a doubt DJI O3 in 30 frames a second mode. It is horrific is the term I will use. But what is also really interesting in this video is when we start talking about how the frame is delivered to the user. And that is because the OLED goggles all behave progressively. The image writes in top to bottom, not always at the top, but it starts from wherever it starts to the bottom and then comes back around. Whereas the V2 goggles and the V1s have horrific frame time pacing. And the way the V2 goggles deliver the image to the user is just bad. Now, the reason this isn't really noticed in low latency mode is because it's just faster and most people don't notice it. But when you start getting up the higher latency modes, it's horrific. And what I mean by that is the DJI goggles V2 and V1 don't progressively bring in the image. They either bring it in two different parts, usually the bottom and then the top, or if the camera synchronization is not at the point of being at the bottom, it could pause for an additional 10 milliseconds and then drop the whole image in. The really interesting bit is the lack of consistency. One frame may have a pause of, say, 20 milliseconds before it starts to be drawn. The next frame could have a pause of 35 milliseconds before it starts to be drawn. And it is not, that's not the variability in the latency of the system, that's the variability in how the display reads out the data. And it is super interesting. And it's one I've worked on. This has all been done on 1,000 frames a second camera. It's really interesting. Look, the one takeaway from this video is if you use any of the systems in their optimized mode, so for instance, HDZero, it doesn't matter what mode. It's the lowest latency FPV system on the market, period, non-discussion, not even open for debate. HDZero in normal 60 frames a second mode is about 17 milliseconds, and it is 14 milliseconds in 90 mode. That is fact. And HDZero will start to deliver its first pixel of image in between 1 and 2 milliseconds on average. It's not even funny how different HDZero is. End of non-discussion. So it doesn't really matter the mode you choose for HDZero. You're getting great performance whatever happens. However, on Avatar HD and DJI V2 or Goggles 2, you get the best performance as long as you stay in the 100 frames a second mode or 120, depending on which one you're doing. O3 has more latency than the V1 system, but the second you move off the native fastest frame rate, things go downhill quickly. And that's why I said the worst case scenario is the V2 goggles in 30 frames a second mode. It is like incredible latency. Now, it's going to be longer because you're in 30 frames a second, but it is still bad. And I mean really bad. There is also something interesting, and this is the last comment I'll make on this before thing. And not many people actually know this. DJI have in the goggles too, and this is only in 100 frames a second mode on O3, a form of V-Sync or FreeSync. And it actually synchronizes the camera to the goggles. Now, DJI actually talk about this in their marketing material, but we all sort of glossed over this at the time. But DJI have a form of FreeSync, only though in O3 on 100 frames a second mode, as far as I can tell. And it makes the frame consistency almost perfect. And you'll see this in a chart tomorrow. It's really quite cool. Really quite cool. Brandon Beans, I wanted to like 30 frames a second so I could fly at night. It was such an alarmingly disorientating experience that I honestly can't recall if the exposure was improved. It is horrific, and you will see in the charts. But yeah, so the interesting stuff. Now, that'll go live tomorrow. Someone will say I'm being biased towards something in that. It'll be what it will be. It's bad. Okay, we should talk about Fatshark. And there are some reasons we need to talk about Fatshark. And that is because Fatshark have some deals on their Dominator HD goggles. But this raises interesting questions around what is happening with Fatshark and what is... Your latency video is very latency biased. Yeah, AVI, you should have seen it, because my patrons would have seen it. But yeah, there is a deal on the Dominator HDs, as I've already said. They are down to $380. The real question is, what is happening with Fatshark? Because no one knows. Now, I think this is a steal for people wanting to get into the Avatar HD system as it is today. It's a great deal if you don't need HDMI in or you don't need the new bells and whistles on the Goggles X. It is by far the cheapest way to get into Avatar HD as digital FPV. From a product point of view, there are no known issues with these goggles. Reliability is very good on them unless you use them on 6S. And overall, it's a decent product. Caddx have told me they will continue to support Fatshark in anything they need in the future. My understanding is you will still have full warranty on these products. You will get everything you should have got. but they are on a heavy discount. The question is, what is Fatshark going to do next? Are we going to see a new goggle from Fatshark? I don't know. If we look at Fatshark today, they're selling a much smaller range of goggles than they have in the past. If we have a look on the Fatshark website, they have the Dominator HD, the Recon HD, which is the cheap box goggle version of the Avatar goggle. I've not tried them. I was not sent any for review. I can't comment. HDZero, HDO2s, Scouts, and the Attitude V6s. Now, the interesting thing I wanted to look at was what of them is actually still available. If we look down under Fatshark, we can see that you can get the Recon HDs. They are in stock. I checked them just now, and they are available to buy. HDO 2.1s, they're now calling, are in stock and available to buy. Interesting, they're the 2.1. What changed? Anyone know? We've got the sale on the Dominator Digitals. And do they have the Recon? Let's just have a look. They've got the Analog Scouts. Are they available? Yes, the Analog Scouts are still available. And is there anything else? No. So that is pretty much it. Now, I'm not saying there isn't in other retailers, but looking on Get FPV, that's it. Now, interestingly, I had heard there was a 2.1 on the HDOs, but I don't know what changed. Updated IPD and focus adjuster buttons. I don't know what that means. Other than it's been updated. What is really interesting when you look at this goggle is just how similar that is to the Dominator HD. Just look. That whole... I reckon they're using the Dominator... What displays are on these? No, they're not the same displays. From the Avatar goggles. Yeah, that's what makes me think. This all looks really similar, doesn't it? Really, really similar. But they are still available. Now, as of today, I see there being no reason not to consider buying the Dominator HDs if you want to get into Avatar HD. If anything on that changes, I will obviously make a video. I would lambast Fatshark and Caddx, and I will tell you now, if Caddx dump on users on, say, module issues on these goggles, they will get it as well. But the warranty is with Fatshark at the end of the day. Now, we did have that situation with HDZero where they stopped making the Scout HDs, and then Fatshark said they couldn't get parts, and then Carl agreed to do the support for them. Really, the question is, if Fatshark are no longer in the Walksnail digital FPV game, what are they in? Because they burned a bridge with HDZero. If they don't do anything with Caddx, then they're only in the analog market again. And what are they going to do? Is Fatshark done for? That is a question. Now, I don't know what the situation with the Fatshark ownership is now, because remember, Fatshark, Rotoraya were all part of Red Cat Holdings. However, it was said a while ago that those two brands were being split off into a separate entity. I don't know if that ever happened. I don't know who owns Fatshark now, what has happened with regards to Red Cat and Fatshark. That should all be public information because Red Cat is a publicly traded company. Greg had officially retired and sailed off into the sunset, as I understand it, but was probably dragged back to help with these goggles. Fatshark in itself really doesn't own much IP. The only IP they really have is the goggle molds. And I'm really not sure how valuable they are when you're talking about SkyZone can release products as well. What's the warranty on the Walksnail goggles X, and where's the best place to buy? I would order directly from Caddx today. I can't remember what Caddx say their warranty is, actually. But I would go with Caddx. Look, be very careful on AliExpress. I don't like using places like that for expensive items. They usually say something dull like 6 months warranty. And I did complain at them before about this, remember? I actually was the one that highlighted Caddx's shitty warranty policy. I'm just looking. Warranty and warranty policy. 2 years limited warranty for Avatar goggles. There you go. 2 years. So, wherever we're at with Fatshark, I genuinely don't know. I look, if they're out of digital FPV, the only thing they could do is could they partner with Orqa on their soon upcoming digital FPV system? Yeah, no. For all intents and purposes, Orqa are out of the analog FPV game. Orqa are now dealing with military stuff. I can see Orqa leaving consumer FPV completely. So I wouldn't even count Orqa as being in the game anymore. Orqa have gone the SkyZone route. I'm going to finish eating my cake. You don't see Bardwell eating on stream. But yes, we don't know with Fatshark. However, for me today, I don't have any concerns over the warranty. If that changes, I will tell you. What I will say, though, is the goggles have been really reliable. They really have been very, very reliable. Other than 6S, obviously. You don't put them on 6S, they'll burn out. But other than 6S, they have been pretty good. What do you think about the Integra goggles? I liked the Integras, but I didn't really spend enough time with them. To give like a 6-month opinion. But they're a good goggle. I think the Goggles 2 is a better featured goggle, but the Integra for me was a better goggle. I've not had a single person say to me they bought the Integras and regretted it. So, that tells you a lot. You will gain weight from that roll. I will. I'm fat enough, and I will continue to get fat. I wouldn't want to be able to do that. I had the battery in the back of my head. Yeah, some people didn't like the battery. Do I get to fly for fun much these days? Not testing or making videos? No, genuinely. Look, for me, okay, so flight time for me at the moment is minimal. Weather kicks in now, so look, I'm into my long winter. I'm trying to finish a review of 2 drones. I have the Defender 20 from iFlight. That's in front of me here, actually. and the Defender 16 for my flight, and I'm trying to finish the reviews. There's a possibility I might have to post the videos in 2 parts because the weather is stopping me flying. Genuinely, I had much bigger plans this year to fly more, and I haven't, and that's something I will change for next year. As for flying for fun, no, actually, it doesn't. And look, this is the problem, becoming an international superstar and gigolo and top shill for brands across the world is, yeah, genuinely, my time does get tied up a lot now on reviews, and that's going to change. Reviews, I'm going to be doing slowing down. I am far more picky on what I review today than I have before. There is some stuff I'm going to be reviewing, and I'm going to upset a load of people in a minute by saying something, because I said yes to something this week that people will be like, you complete and utter shill. But I do try to be careful. But genuinely, I've actually really struggled on locations this year for testing. My usual flight location has basically been overtaken by dog walkers. So that has made me struggle. Now I'm in the period of year of where flying is at minimum for me anyway. And actually, what you're going to see from me in the next 3 or 4 months is actually 2 things. You're going to see a bit more 3D printing content because I can't fly. And I've got some plans on doing some basic 3D printing content on the bamboo stuff, on sort of how to start. Because what I've noticed is loads of people are buying bamboo printers who've never printed before. So I'm going to actually do a bunch of basic stuff on the bamboos. But then there'll always be new stuff around the corner. There's stuff I know that's coming out, which I'll be talking about. And then I'm probably going to try and slow down a bit in winter. I have said yes to something. And you can't have a go at me, because even Dave from the EEV blog said yes on one of these. However, I have been approached a number of times and I said no. Proud bamboo shill here. They're really good printers. I have been asked probably 30 or 40 times to review electric scooters, and I've said no, because they're mostly illegal in the UK, and none of them would do what I would want to do. Apart from someone sent me an option of reviewing an off-road electric scooter that I could actually do what I wanted to do. And I've agreed to say yes. And this will probably be the only one I will review. I am ecstatically interested, because I have always been fascinated by these things. I've always wanted one. Will anything change in 2024? I don't know, or haven't looked yet. But there are companies that have done an off-road one. And the reason that suits me is I have some amazing places, and I'm not talking bloody boulders like this, right? But there are places like big lakes and stuff that I can go around with one. And I've been very careful, and I was like, I am going to try it. Now, as always, you're going to get my review. If it's shit, you're going to be told it's shit. But what I don't intend to be doing is reviewing modems, routers, or anything else. I said yes to this just for a very specific reason, just like Bardwell said yes to reviewing an electric bike. So if you're going to have a go at me, bugger off and have a go at Bardwell as well. And in fact, even Dave at the EEV blog had a look at one of these. So I said yes. The one time where I've actually won, you know what? I am genuinely interested in that. I'll be reviewing neck braces the week after. So look, you're not going to get... I'm not tuning into all of these other channels. You're going to see lots of stuff. I genuinely have been really interested in looking at one of these. See footage of me on a scooter. You are going to see footage of me on a scooter. An absolute shill. What else, Albert? 10 points. But no, look, I have some amazing places to go round, and I'm too fat to ride. So an electric scooter suits me in the drain. And so, but like, I genuinely, look, if the laws in the UK had changed, I'd have had one years ago. No, I'm not getting money. There's no money involved. I'm not being paid. No payment. Okay, let me be clear. I am receiving the product, but that is standard practice pretty much across the board now, whatever people. The weight limit, I did check. I did check. And it's not massively off-road. Don't worry. It's not going to have quad tires or anything like that. But yeah, I'm just intrigued at how good it is. I am intrigued to have one in the back of the car and see what it is. What did 13 FPV say? Reviewing neck braces, yeah. So, yeah, I don't use... Look, I turn down... Guys, genuinely, I get probably 30 emails a day on shit. That's not worth touching. But this one, I actually genuinely piqued my interest. I was like, that's actually quite cool. I wonder if it will do what I want to do. Will it do what I want to do? That is the question. I want to ride it around Lisafran Dam. Is what I want to do. For those who don't know, not far from me is a place called Lisafran Dam. And to give you guys an idea, this place is phenomenal. Let me get some images up. It has something like... It's this massive dam here, which there is a cycle track that goes all the way around. It's huge. It's a lot bigger than it looks there. But it goes on forever. It's got a cycle track that goes around it. They got buggies. It is a phenomenal place. And I want to know if I can get around it on an electric scooter, as well as other places. These are people's photos. I'm not sure I'll be doing that. But yeah, it's a big old place. It's a big old place. Yeah, you sort of can and can't. So I said yes. Let's see if it even turns up first of all. Is there an age limit for that park? I don't know. I'll let you know when I get kicked out. Can this scooter do what a fat, middle-aged, bald man on YouTube wants it to do? It's probably the first time in a very long time I've thought, you know what, I'm going to have a look at that. And look, genuine part of the reason was I won't be able to fly much. The flying now is coming to an end, so I thought I'll do something over the period. Let's see how it is. It might even turn up this week. That's why I've been thinking of buying an Insta360. So, anyway. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Please give it a like. We are at 79, and I have missed that there was a super chat that came in earlier from Chiller. €5. Thank you for the goggles test. Thank you for that, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Super chats are more than welcome, but they're not required for me to answer questions. Mad on a surfboard. You're not going to see me on a surfboard. That's for sure. Now, that does lead me nicely on, if you've got any questions, to the Insta360 thing. I am thinking of picking up a 360 camera, because I've never had one. And I've been thinking of actually picking one up, and part of it is for this review, but part of it actually is just I actually fancy one. Now, I have been looking at the GoPro, and everyone's telling me don't go near it, and I'm actually thinking of getting an Insta360 X3. Now, I was looking on their website, and I actually thought, wow, the 1RS looks amazing until I seen the price. My God, $700 for a standalone 1-inch sensor, though, but still $700. So, we're not going to be going for that one. That's for sure. However, I am tempted on the X3, for those who haven't seen it. And I think it looks quite an interesting camera. It does, though, start getting very expensive very quickly when you add in their bloody accessories. But really, more than anything, has anyone here got an X3? There is a new Insta camera coming in the next few days. But I believe it's a GoPro alternative. You know, Action 4 GoPro alternative. I don't think it's a 360. I think I'm not aware, but I'm going to hang back. But I have been thinking about the X3, and I don't know what people's thoughts are. Have they got one? What are they like? I've always fancied strapping one on a quad and doing that crazy-looking footage as well, actually, because it could be quite cool. But you start seeing the prices go up. It has a flip screen. Yeah, it flips up from the back up, doesn't it? I saw that. For those who haven't seen, Insta360 have put up a marketing video. So look, let's dissect this a little bit. So it's clearly a GoPro stroke Action 4 style camera. It's got a screen on the front. Although, notice here, look at their renderings change. Screen on the front there goes all the way to the bottom. Screen on the front there only goes to there. Oh no, is that meant to be a GoPro? Sorry, that's meant to be the GoPro. So wait a minute, is that meant to be one meant to be DJI and one meant to be GoPro? Yes. One's meant to be DJI, one's meant to be GoPro. And then they smash together. And then out forms something with a Leica lens. Very nice. So the lens, for starters, is on that side. Okay. It clearly doesn't appear to be a 360 cam. Based on that, because the fact the screen is flipped up. Tells you that there's not one on the back. And then they say a new force, and that is launching tomorrow. So to me, this is clearly aimed as a GoPro Action 4 replacement. Is what it seems to be. Seems to be something along the bottom there as well, actually. Interesting. I do like the look of the flip-up screen. Looks quite interesting. We're going to have to wait and see what it is. But that is Insta360. But I am looking at an X3. So I don't know what people's thoughts are. Has anyone got an X3? Is it any good? What's your thoughts on the X3? I don't know if anyone has one. I wish I had time to play EVE Online. Thank you for the $5.55 super chat, Flickr FPV. I really appreciate it. That's going to be heck expensive. Yeah, it probably is. Let's hope the voltage pump has been upgraded. Interesting. I haven't really seen much else about it. It launches tomorrow, so not far to go. And then we'll get all the reviews land. But yeah, I've been just looking at like the 360 one rather than anything else. Eight-bit. Yeah. A lot of these cams are still 8. Now, if there's any questions, please do put it in the comment section. I will try and answer them if there's anything that I've covered tonight that you want to talk about. And then we're going to get ready to wrap this one up. Now, as I put out on my video yesterday, there are FPV sales on. If you're interested in seeing them, I have a video with it on as well. Tomorrow will be the Latency video. Middle of the week will be the Caddx video. And then a little bit later in the week will be one of the Bamboo videos. And then I am trying to get Chris Ross's video finished, the AOS motors. It's not going to be a review. I've decided I am not reviewing the motors. And there's 2 reasons for that. You're going to get an overview of the product, but I am not comfortable giving opinions this time of year that I can't quantify against other motors easily. It's going to be very hard for me to sit here and tell you these are better or these are worse. They're going to be flown and I'm going to give an overall opinion. But in the end, more than anything, Chris's video is going to be about this is a $27 set of motors. Here's the features. Here's what the manufacturer says. You make up your own mind. I think it's really hard to quantify how much better they are for the cost. I just think it's really hard. I'm not going to pretend to test something in a way that I can't do. Type has asked, what do I need as a beginner order on sale beyond the Bamboo P1S? Do I need the bed? No, it'll come with the gold bed. That's all you need. Filament. Get yourself some filament. You don't need anything else. But yeah, what I'm going to do on Chris's motor is it's going to be a product showcase, not a review. Yeah, just filament. You don't need anything else for it. The anti-fog is good on the V2s. It will dry your eyeballs to mummy status. I go for motor that will be available more than one summer. Yeah, there are question marks over that. Comes with 2.5 rolls of PLA. You do get rolls with them at the moment. They're doing a free filament deal. The filament they give you in the AMS pack is much smaller. You get like part rolls. You don't get full rolls. And don't use the support white to print something. Yeah, they're not full rolls. You get like part rolls. In fact, I was talking about this earlier. Where are they? There's one up there. They're not full. To give you an idea, this cold is driving me nuts. They tend to come about that full. You don't get that much on them. That's the test spools. So that's what you get. And you'll probably get orange or green. How long has this been live for? Since 10 o'clock. Am I still using the resin 3D printer? Not a lot. I haven't used it for 6+ months. I've not had a need for 6 months. I like resin, but you really need a dedicated setup area for resin. Had the X3 for a while. If you're going to get one, definitely get the stick-on lens protectors. The original lens is scratched quite easily. Oh, great bit of info. How do I like the A1? I'm finishing the A1 review right now, and I mean testing, and then I've got to record it. It's behind me. For those who haven't seen, there it is. There it is. A1 is really good. Just and actually, we'll finish on this. Let me just grab. Let me show you just a couple of prints off the A1. So these are a couple of test prints off the A1. This is the Benchy, which is pretty much exactly as we expect. Bow line from high-speed printing, but other than that, looks really, really good. We've got here two. I've got more test prints than this. I've got the Rose. Where's the Rose gone? The Rose has vanished. That's worrying. Where has the Rose gone? The Rose come out really well. Really, really pleased with it. These are printed in sparkly filament. Let me just turn the overhead light on a bit more so you guys can see and refocus. These are printed in sparkly filament. And this is a Baby Yoda Groku. And overall, I always do the single color tests and then I move on to the multicolor tests. And that is a Groku print and it has come out absolutely perfect. It's brilliant. And in fact, it did a better job than the Creality on the hands. Obviously, you've got to print this with supports. The overhang areas are pretty good off the supports. No complaints down there. No complaints on the bottom of the ears, because again, that's areas where you have support, and you have areas around here, again, underneath. And this is that sparkly PLA, which looks really good. This is an incredibly hard print. This is printed with no supports at all. This is a print that requires just, it's a test of the printer and its ability to print without supports and overhangs. And in the difficult areas, it has come out actually really, really well. Again, on that, and I'm trying to see where the Rose is. Actually, the Rose is missing. Let me turn that light back off. Where has the Rose gone? I did have a print fail. Not the printer's fault. A bloody filament tangled. But yeah, so I'll be finishing the review on that shortly. Can we get a video on NutriBullet? What's NutriBullet? I had an issue when flying my drone with the Avatar VTX. I keep getting disconnected, even though the drone is just some meters away from my goggles and is directly facing it, and I crashed in water. So, are you talking the Caddx Avatar? Sounds like you may have an issue. There has been people who have posted weird issues that we never got to the bottom of. It sounds like your VTX has an antenna issue. That's what I would say, first of all. You shouldn't lose signal in line of sight below, 400 or 500 meters. If you are, something is wrong. Something is fundamentally wrong. I would start with the VTX. I would check it's leaving low power mode. I would make sure the antenna is connected properly. The antenna cable is not damaged. Firmware mismatch. It shouldn't do that on a firmware mismatch. Shouldn't do that on a firmware mismatch. Could, I suppose. Antennas could be the cause. You shouldn't be losing signal that fast. I had that with low power mod issues, interestingly. Interesting. Could be low power mode, but it's still 25 milliwatts. A1 and TPU prints very well. I have done some TPU on it. I'm going to do a GoPro mount tomorrow. No issues with TPU at all. A little bit of stringing, but I'm not going to blame the printer for that. I'm going to blame the TPU. No complaints. Just no complaints about the A1 at all. Caddx have said on the Goggles X they are shipping in the next 2 weeks. They are behind, and there's typical Caddx bloody marketing. But they said, I can't remember what they said, but they are shipping soon. Favorite drone size? Ooh. I'll be honest, I really like Whoops, 1S, 2S Whoops. Just fly them anyway. I think my probably favourite quad is 4-inch. 4-inch is just nice. 4 inches is just big enough. No one needs more than 4 inches. Four or 3 inches. No one needs any more than that. Doesn't have the flick, doesn't have the weight. No, you don't have the mass in a 4-inch, so 10 inches are nice. Right. I'm going to finish this one up here. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been with me tonight. The idea of tonight's stream was a bit loose. It was never planned to be big and heavy, but I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's watched, a thank you to everyone who supports the channel, all of my Patreons. I want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreons. We've had a bit of moving around on Patreon recently with a bunch of people who don't like what I've said leaving. That's fine. I really appreciate everything you've said, you've done to support the channel. That's great. If you don't like what you see, go watch what you do like. Go support the people you do like. Always follow where it is. Just stop bloody whinging about it. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. Look after yourself. We should be back same time, same place next week. And I'll speak to you soon.